Welcome to a special episode of Develop Your Edge, where in today's show you'll hear some of my favorite moments from previous guests such as Jim Dalton, Merritt Black, Morad Askar, and Josh Shuler. We've talked about you building the technical side. Talk to us about that moment where you recognize that, look, I have edge with my strategy. And then where you started to build on recognizing that you needed this next level of what we'll call mental edge.
It was several epiphanies, but one that really stands out was actually FT71 called me out on it.
Did
He
he?
said, yeah, he
FT?
said you have a strong technical edge, that you have no problem there. He said your problems are entirely between the ears. And it was largely due to my ego, very, very, very strong ego, strong-willed child, all those things. That's me, just check the box.
I relate.
Um, and wanting to, and I think having been good at some things, sports and kind of, different things or whatever, academics, right? All of it kind of came naturally to me. I was able to kind of like be good at some things. I'm not trying to brag on myself. I'm trying to talk about a weakness here. When it comes to trading, no human is really naturally wired to be a great trader.
Mm.
And if you've had some success elsewhere, if you have, or if you're really stubborn and you have a huge ego, you're in for a world of pain and a world of hurt. And that was it for me. He called me out on it. And not only that, but you combine that with a bit of gasoline that I am naturally risk seeking. It's a disaster. I always tell people I'm naturally the world's worst person cut out to be a trader, but I'm too stupid to have ever changed. So yeah, he called me out on that, and then from there, I think it's really a process, or was a process of journaling, pen and paper, reading some different kind of books rather than technical analysis stuff or whatnot.
Yeah.
Using everything from experiences I had playing tournament paintball to experiences I had playing tennis, and bringing those to my trading and learning to let off the gas instead of press harder when things aren't working, all those kind of things. But really just beginning, and obviously I'm still working on it, beginning to get to know oneself better and understand your triggers, you know, understand sequences that tend to lead you to a bad place. Just becoming armed with more and more information. And really, it just takes journaling and objectively observing yourself to start to learn more about yourself.
Well, let's talk about that day trading time frame. How do you use market profile to give you an edge in your trading?
Well, I'm not sure what the market profile does is I just said it organizes the data. So the first edge comes from having organized data. The profile allows you to see the structure of the market. If you remember years ago, traders had an advantage on the floor from noise. They could hear what was going on. As volume went up, they knew there was more activity. As volume died down, they knew activity was dying out. Now, with the profile and with, floor trading going away, we get information into our brain through vision. About 60% of the brain is somehow involved in being able to see what is going on. So being able to visually see the market and visually see the structure of the market really is an advantage. And what the structure does, the structure represents the relationship between the different time frames in the market. However, I don't really think that the biggest advantage that I have is the profile. I think the biggest advantage came from the understanding that people are not necessarily rational. And it's amazing if we so many times traders think they're relying on their intuition. And if I can walk up to almost any trader and pretend I'm watching what they're doing for a few minutes and say, boy, I can see that you have great instincts for trading. and they will grin from ear to ear. Now, the truth of the matter is that our instincts are what do us in so many times in trading. And the examples I use, the first time you ride on the back of a motorcycle, the experienced, operator of the cycle, he's leaning into the curb. You're trying to stand straight up, and which is not the right thing to do. And I remember that first time I went off a ski jump as a kid on water. They explained to me that there was less friction on water and going up a ramp than there was on flat water. Well, I mean, I would have gotten it right on the test. But when I went off that ramp, I'm leaning back. And of course, when I'm up in the air, my feet are pointing straight up. And when I hit the water, I was on my back. It was just another example that our intuition isn't always as reliable as we think.
But for the traders out there listening to this, what is the process? Because you said you're a combination of several things. What is the process? Is it find a technical edge first? Is it, as I just made the joke about Merritt, is it having mental edge first? Like, what would Morad's advice be to the traders out there that want to develop their edge? What would that process be?
Well, the answer is check all of the above, right? First, you cannot come into a market without something that has some sort of a statistical edge. You can generate that statistical edge by being in the market and tracking the performance of your trades or your plan, trading it in a simulator while penalizing your exits to compensate for simulator fills, trading it in a micro product to keep your cost and your risk down. Whatever it is, you're going to have to come up with a statistical edge. Like, you just cannot make money without a statistical edge. You might as well just sit here and flip a coin, right? So that's one. The thing is, that's what gets 90% of the attention from
Yes.
people who are coming into the business. And it's not sexy to talk about psychology and risk management, but really the edge part, you've got to have it. But let's say that you have that, okay? And a lot more people have an understanding that can yield an edge than they think, right? They attribute the overall results of their trading performance to no edge, but put them on a simulator with strict rules and strict limits, they do okay in general, in my experience. But you put them live, and it just seems like everything blows up. So that tells you that there's a disconnect there. So let's just take the technical edge, which gets most of the attention and where the forums are full of indicators and all that stuff. Let's take that and just say you have some sort of an edge. To me, understanding the auction, understanding market and volume profiling is a huge edge no matter what market you trade. It could be crypto, it could be Forex, doesn't matter. It all has to auction. Let's set that aside. Now it boils down to how well are you doing the work? What does it take to trade right? Right? To trade right as a professional, you have to do the work. You have to log what's going on, and you have to be very, very clear about what you did versus what you expected to do, and what error did you introduce into the equation. And your job now becomes about sniping those errors, getting rid of those errors. People say, God, I knew I needed to get long, but I got short all day long. And it's because the trust is not there, and you build trust by tracking something very closely. So journaling, being accountable to your plan, and then the other part is just the baggage that we bring in terms of my inability to accept losses. A loss is a personal injury to my ego. So I cannot have losses. Well, guess what, buddy? You're going to have a lot of losses if that's your mindset. Your goal is not to worry about wins and losses. Your goal is just to line up with the market, define your risk, and take the trade. And then, so the psychology part is the part that I, as a former prop shop owner, 80% of the time, I would guess, 80% of the resources, money, and time were invested in just getting people to just do what they're supposed to do, just getting rid of the psychological issues, the ego, the fight, and just becoming centered. And you and I have talked about meditation being just a very powerful way to get into that center and to be emotionally aware. You cannot control your emotions, but you can control your reaction to those
Exactly.
emotions. That's a
Exactly.
big piece.
This year, actually, I'm pretty stacked up with a lot of people that use market profile coming on the show. I get a ton of requests for people to say, Anthony, bring on more people to talk about profile because it's become such a popular tool that traders use.
Yeah,
And
great.
and I've had really, to me, no offense to you or anybody who uses profile, but I had Dalton on the show, and to me, he's the one who really I read his books, talked with him
Yeah,
extensively about it. He is
he's the godfather.
the Godfather. That's a great way to put it. So what was interesting is that when he was on the show, he said to me, he's like, you know what? The profile isn't my edge. It's just a tool I use, but
Yeah.
it's not my edge. What about you as someone who uses the profile? What's your edge?
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree that the profile itself is not an edge. Just like if you talk to Morad, it's not like I'm not a profile trader. All we use the profile to do is to help us organize information in the auction
Bingo.
and make some decisions around that. Um, Now I take it to kind of a different level of informing my edge in that I've spent a fair bit of time extracting what I call behavioral statistics that you can pull off of the profile
Okay.
and the different day types. So there's nomenclature for people who are like really into auction theory. There's nomenclature of day types and open types, and you can actually extract statistical normalized behavior off of those things to give you an edge. And it's not like with any market statistic, it's not a fair full fail proof metric, but it's something to go, hey, do I have reasonable expectations about what's going to happen now given what's happened so far, and can that help me inform my decisions?
Remember, traders, micro treasury yield futures are now live at CME Group. Make sure you put these symbols up on your charts to know what's happening in yields. 2YY, 5YY, 10Y, and 30Y. And to learn more, go to activetrader.cmegroup.com. Traders, if you're enjoying the show, give me the thumbs up. If you're not, give me the thumbs down. Either way, I want to hear your comments down below. Don't miss an episode of Develop Your Edge. Click that subscribe button. And you can also DM me your comments and questions on Twitter at Anthony Crudele. Don't forget to check out Instagram, Anthony C. Crudele. That's a wrap for today. See you next week.